This is an instructional video on how to set up the signal controller into flashing mode for 95, if not 100% of any flasher that comes from China. And the reason I say that is that uh, all of the electronics, certainly in the model train space, flashers and lights and so forth, that come from China, instead of using a common ground as the common line for all of the lights, they use a common plus voltage. And so it's the reverse of pretty much everything in the United States. So here I have a simple diode, LED diode, and you can see on the left-hand side, the leg is a little shorter than the right-hand side, and that's the way it comes. And almost always in these kinds of things, certainly in all LEDs, the short one is ground and the long one is plus. So it's plus means longer, plus means bigger. So that's a simple mnemonic on how to remember it. The plus is bigger and ground is shorter. And when you get the signal controller from us, it's set to common ground, or what's known in the industry as common cathode. And so this is the cathode, and then this is the anode. So the cathode is going to be ground. And by default, this is set up into 3-aspect mode. So without a trigger, I don't have the trigger, I just have a wire here. We're going to use that a little bit later. It's connected to the common up here. The common on the right-hand side is plus for when this comes from the shop, from us. And then there's green, yellow, and red going up. So let me do it this way: green, yellow, and red. So this one right here is the common minus. So this is defaults into green mode, which is the way it should be. So we're going to put this thing in. I've unscrewed all of these so that they're loose, and I'm simply going to insert this with the short one, or the common, in the first terminal, and the second one in the green terminal, and it lights. Okay, so now if I put this into, if I trigger this as a block signal, that light's going to go off. And what it's done is it's going to trigger to green, and then it's going to take a minute. It's going to go to yellow, and then it's going to come back here, and we can adjust the speed and how fast that happens by adjusting the screw. All right. So we want to revert. In what I said is that in the case of the Chinese product, the long one, the plus, is going to be common, and as you can see, nothing happens. So the first thing that we're going to do is put this in common anode mode, which is the reverse. Maybe I should label this as common plus and common minus. So it's in common minus with the ground, the way it comes from the factory. We're going to put it into common anode mode. And to do that, we have to use what's called the hold and select mode. We have to put it into a special config mode. Super simple. All you do is push and hold the button. The LED will go off and it will come back on and let go. And while it's in configuration mode, waiting for your instructions, it's going to blink 1 per second. All right. So we're going to choose anode mode, and so we're just going to press the button 4 times. 1, 2, 3, 4. And that will reverse the circuit. This will flash. And now, since we're in common anode mode, the light goes on because we've reversed the polarity. And sure enough, the long leg is on the bottom. So for your flashers and block signals, everything comes from China. That's the first thing that you do. So just put it into config mode, 4 presses. And once it's set, once you choose one of these options in the hold and select mode, it'll activate that and flash a bunch of times and then exit the hold and select mode. So it's just going to sit there forever. And it's in block signal mode. So if I trigger this by connecting the common, which is the top green, and the bottom, it'll go off again and go through the same sequences. So we're gonna just let it go. One thing I should have mentioned at the very beginning: when you turn the block signal on, and I just turned the power off here for a second, it will flash a few times right after the light goes on, and if it's in the proper mode with just two wires. So if you have a block signal, or if you have a flasher, take one wire and one common and put them into these 2 modes, into these 2 terminals, just to make sure the light goes on and you've got the right wire for the common. If it doesn't light, reverse them. You won't hurt the LED. It's designed for that purpose. and try to get one of the lights to go on. If you get that far, you're 90% of the way there. And so what you're going to do is you're going to connect the common, which is the plus from the Chinese product, to the bottom. And then we use the top two for the flasher mode. So right now, if I stretch this LED out a little bit so that I can stick it into the bottom one and the top one. I do have LEDs with longer leads, but this should work okay. All right. So now I'm still in the 3 aspect mode. So when I trigger this now, oops, I may not have it in there. Oh, there we go. I didn't have it in the hole. So now I triggered it, and this will go, and it will go through its 3 aspect sequence. I'll just shorten this up a little bit so it goes quickly. Okay, it'll go off, and then what it's doing is going to yellow and eventually back to green. And just to prove that point, we'll go like this, and we'll put this back into these 2 terminals, and sure enough, the green is lit. So the bottom 2 is a good place to test, because before you trigger anything, that's always on. Now, that's not going to work exactly the same when we go to flasher mode. Okay, so let's put this back here like this, and we can put it into the top red and the bottom, so it's wired the same way. And now we're not in config mode, we're going to put it into flasher mode. So I'm going to press this 8 times. And the cadence isn't that important, but if you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you might go too fast for the controller. If you go 1, 2, 3, that's a little too slow. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so now the signal controller is out of block signal mode and going into flasher mode. And because the flasher is not triggered right here, the light stays off. But as soon as I trigger it to that bottom one, it's going to blink. And it's going very fast because I fiddled with this a minute ago. So I can slow it down. And there we go. And that now we have it blinking. So when you're setting this up for your flashers, just start with 1 wire and get it going. Because the only thing you have to do is, now that you know what the common is, take the other loose wire and connect it to the yellow terminal right here, and you're all set. That's all you need to do, and it'll go back and forth. And just to prove that, I'm going to connect this to the yellow, and if we had both of them, these would alternate flashing. All right, so that's all there is to setting up the signal controller in flasher mode for Chinese-based anode mode common plus configuration.